Welcome back, dear viewers. You're still watching Nile Cruise on Nile TV, and we have with us today a very special guest, which is a tourism expert. In many places, crafts such as textiles and art contribute greatly to the culture of the destination and the travel experience. Crafts can be an important contributor to a country's economy, employing artisans that are preserving cultural heritage while generating an important source of income through the informal sector. The tourism industry provides an important export market for a host of craft products. And dear viewers, tourists often set a budget for themselves, expecting to buy different products to take home as souvenirs. These souvenirs then serve as tourism marketing tools by telling a story of the destination and adding, of course, to the travel experience. And this is what happens to all of us when we're abroad and we come back with something that's very special and specified to a very special country. Dear viewers, in this context, we have with us today Mr. Hany Lashin, who is going to be telling us more about tourism and, of course, about my introduction. A very good day, sir, and it's a pleasure to have you with us today. Today's episode of Nile Cruise.
Thank you. I'm very happy to be here today and to discuss a very important topic because handcraft is one of the essential factors in tourism sector.
Sir, tourism is a sector and crafts is another sector. How we make this kind of cohesion between both sectors?
Actually, there is a very essential link between them, a relation and very important relation, because the cultural tourism is depending on it's one of the most engine for the tourism, and handicrafts is one of the player in this sector. So to have the handicrafts product in a country, if you talk about Egypt, for instance, it will help and will support tourism sector because it will be attractive point and selling attraction also for the tourists while they are visiting the country to see the traditional and the culture and the heritage represent the country. And as you mentioned in the starting of the program, that's the people while they are buying souvenirs, it's ambassador to our country. Once they go back to their country, and the people always asking them about the souvenirs and the masterpieces, because there is a story behind it, and that always I'm saying this tangible, indirect way for the marketing for your product and for your tourism through the handicraft items.
Sir, some experts say we need to improve the cohesion between the craft and tourism sectors by creating stronger linkages between the two. How do you see this issue and how can we work on it?
Well, as I mentioned, that's the relation between tourism and the handicrafts is very strong relation, and it's essential relation. We cannot segregate between them because tourism is depending one of the most important part, as I mentioned, that's the culture tourism, and the handicraft it's one of the attraction for most of the tourists visiting a country to see the product. The handicrafts since long time is not only in Egypt but in different countries. Is one of the what we call the marketing tools we are using to market our country because it's reflecting the history, the heritage, as well as I mentioned, the traditional of the country. The link between them must be very strong, and it's always coming from the supervision of the government or semi-government, because we know that the handicraft work sector is informal, mostly is considered as an informal sector, and our rules from tourism sector also to link the handicraft informal to convert it to formal sector. And it's the government, as I mentioned, our semi-government can do these efforts to link the tourism sector with the handicrafts to became under the umbrella of the government and to give them the formality to represent the economy. If you know that's the contribution of the SMEs in many countries is very high. Last year we heard us about the Japanese economy, which is one of the leading or one of the strongest economy all over the world. There was mentioned that 84% of their economy contributed through the SME, from the small and medium enterprises. So the link between them, yes, is very, very important, and it's very essential. And we cannot, as I mentioned, to segregate between both of them. It's both of them. It's represent our. It's giving a strong efforts to our economy.
Tourists, whenever they go to any new country to visit for the first time, they are interested in the handmade stuff and the things that are famous in this country. Here in Egypt, the crafts, of course, it's one of the famous arts since the Pharaonic. But now the market is not craftsmen. Of course, they are not interested as before. So where's the problem?
Well, again, I always highlight it because the government efforts here is very important. There is now a threat coming through the international countries, which is they do a duplicated masterpieces. And of course, they are not doing like what we are used to have in our history. There is a lot of defaults in the masterpieces, and that's reflecting a very wrong information and its weakness about our history. So while I'm saying that it's our part from the government to protect our industry, and giving full support to the handicrafts industry, because it's something linked to your heritage. We don't want to find this kind of industry one day has disappeared. Right now, I think there's a lot of efforts happened and still continuously from our government to improve again the handicraft sector. One of the major efforts happened, I think, in the past 5 years under the ICM. IMC is Industrial Modernization Center under the Ministry of Trade and Industrial. They create something called Creative Egypt and Creative Hub. Both of them is responsible for the handicraft small sector, and to train them, give them the quality assurance program, and to give them a lot of awareness about how to do the business in professional way, to protect them from the competition from outside the competition.
Mr. Hany, how can we develop partnerships that link tourism demand with craft supply, creating direct linkages between craft and tourism professionals?
Well, number one, we need to give a training for as I mentioned, that we have to give a training for the handicraft and for the craftsmen. Very important to know to let them know how to do professional business with the tourist. Not only in how to sell and buy the items, but in the hospitality skills. We need to train them, give them the hospitality skills, because by the end of the day, they are the interactive with the tourist. And while they are giving a positive message to the tourist, it will leave a good impact, not only on the masterpieces or the pieces of which they are selling, but also for the relation and the hospitality way, and the warm hospitality which they are offering to our tourists. So one of the most important part, yes, we have to tourism, our Ministry of Tourism, they need to be working very close with the handicrafts sector, and to give them the facilities and to promote them in their exhibition, international exhibition. It's happened. Of course, we know that most of the international exhibition which is Egypt participate in, they always take with them, or they request some of the handicrafts to join the exhibitions, and they promote their items during the exhibition. That's one of the good things, that we start to promote the handicrafts worldwide and internationally, not only locally. The other way also, if we have a special exhibition only for the handicrafts, and they can travel abroad just showing their products to the international countries. That will help us also in the tourism sector, because that's the people, when they see the history, they like to visit the place, because that's giving a good impact to them and the interest to visit Egypt.
Mr. Hany, Lashin, as a tourism expert, how's the rate of tourism this year in Egypt?
Well, since last year, 2018, the tourism sector started to picking up the market again, and we can see the vision or the future starting from 2019 up to 2020. We have a very positive results in the tourism sector. I think the recession which we had before is not existing anymore. I was very surprising during the New Year Eve, especially in Cairo. It was most of the hotels was fully booked, and since long time we didn't find these figures and the occupancy, hotel occupancy, to be almost 100% during the New Year. Also, Luxor and Aswan was doing a great job. I was lucky to, during the time of the New Year, I was in Luxor, and I really feel the happiness happened with me and my friend while we are entering the Karnak temple and find it's fully booked. We didn't find a place to walk even inside. Yes, 2019 is picking up, and I'm sure that's from 2018 onwards that we'll get back to our positioning, and will attract more and more of tourism, not only through the leisure, but in the business as well, the exhibition. The new sector also, Egypt start now to focus in the exhibition tourism. We have now many of the different way to attract the people. I'm saying that Egypt need to also be in Egypt now. We have to focusing all in the e-business and online promoting a digital business to get more attraction to the people.
Mr. Hany Lashin, tourism expert, we have the pleasure to have you in today's episode of Nile Cruise. Thank you so much, sir, for joining us and of course, enriching our episodes with your valuable knowledge. Thank you, sir. Dear viewers, we go for a short break and we'll be back again.